Hi, this is the first lesson of this first section of this video course. So we're going to see how to make a basic selection and how to make a basic masking. So the first lesson is pretty easy because the girl has got dark hair like me and has got a light background. So we're going to use the quick selection tool and then use the select and mask tools in order to improve the selection and to make the mask. This is a sample with a nice contrast between the subject and the background. So the girl has got dark hair and the background is pretty white. So this is one of the easiest samples you can find when you have to contour the hair. When you have to choose your picture, it's a good idea when the picture is like this, because for sure if the background and the hair has got a color that is similar, it gets harder to make the work. So let's start with something easy. First of all, I will make my selection and I'm going to use the quick selection tool to do this. Now, the quick selection tool works on the contrast. So let's take the size, the right. I think like 50 pixels can be right. Let's choose the hardest 100% and switch on out and enhance. The quick selection works on the contrast. So for example, if I'm using quick selection here where the background is, as you can see, Photoshop directly select all the white areas. And the same on the right and the same here on the lower part of the right. So just by getting around the head of the girl, I select all the background, basically because it's white. And when Photoshop is finding the darkness part, so the hair, it will stop the selection automatically. So I need to have the girl, so I'm going to get to fill select, inverse, and once I've got my selection I will need to refine it. Here on the option bar you have select and mask. So once you have your selection ready, you can get into select and mask and refine it. So I'm clicking here and getting into the select and mask. Select and mask is an area in which I can work directly on the selection. So I have a series of tools that are designed for the selection work. Here on the left, you can find something that you can find also in Photoshop. So for example, the quick selection that we just used, and the polygonal lasso, the lasso. From here you can zoom in and zoom out, and then you can move around using the pan or keeping press the space bar as I'm doing this moment. Here on the right you have got the properties. First of all, view. Now you have different way of having a preview of how your selection will be. So marching ants is the typical preview you have got in Photoshop, but you can have that on your skin, so the background will look transparent. Overlay, you can choose a special color. On black is on black background, white, black and white on layers directly. I'm choosing overlay because I like to define a color, to take a look at my selection. With overlay you can select a color you can use, so let's click here on the color to choose a color for our job. And my suggestion is never use a color that is similar to the hair color. So in this case, for example, it's not a good idea to have this kind of color because I cannot see really finely the difference. So it's good when you have got a color that is really different from the one you have to work on. So for this case, I think that, for example, like this kind of pink color can work finely, or green color can be also a good choice. Okay, let's keep the green and let's press OK. Here I got opacity. So with opacity, the overlay can be really transparent, so I can see the hair that are behind, or can be really opaque. Okay, for the moment I will keep it around 70%. This way I can see if I miss some part of the hair. Okay, let's take the zoom and get nearby. Here I'm just seeing that I forgot some part of the hair, and how can I get that back? Okay, let's take this other tool, that is the brush tool. So with brush tool you can directly add or subtract from the selection some areas. If I'm here, expands detection area, and I'm clicking around, I can add some part that I'm missing. So with this I'm adding. If I'm taking pressed Alt or I'm kicking on here, I can get something back. Okay, so add, subtract. Okay, in this moment I'm adding. Let's add this part, let's add some other small details. Keeping press the space bar, I'm moving on the top part of the picture and getting back some of the hair around. Here as well, and so on. For the moment I don't care of the white parts, but I care just to have all the hair long around and watch them again. Okay, pretty finished. Here we are. Okay, now let's get the opacity to 100% because now I need to have a preview of my work. So basically it will be impossible to have the perfect contour, so to have all the thinny hairs here again, but what I need to have as a result, it's something that looks like pretty done. Okay, let's take this other tool, that is the Refine Edge Brush tool. Refine Edge Brush tool is designed exactly for this kind of works, so it's designed to make this kind of contour, hair, fur, leaf, and so on. Okay, here on the top you can set the size of it. Okay, let's take like 40 pixels, can be okay. And the hardness, I will set the hardness not 0%, but something like 30. Now I will take my Refine tool and I'm going just to paint around. Okay, you see what Photoshop is doing, so I'm just saying to Photoshop, okay, take care, here there is some white, there is some hair, I need to contour. So what does the software do is to try to identify the parts that should be hidden, so the white part, and separate them from the dark part of the hair. To use this tool, the best thing is just to follow the way that the hairs are getting around. So I'm trying to paint following the hairs. Okay, if I'm making something not really good, like here you see that I get some transparent part of the background, I can choose subtract again, so the minus, so restore original area, and I can get back to the original contour. I can decide to let my brush smaller and go on and adding some other detail. So adding and subtracting. Let's try to make it simpler, so a little bit bigger and just get around the hair. So this kind of tools work finally when, as I explained to you at the first step of this exercise, contrast between the hair and the background. So always try to be in the middle between the hair and the background, so don't make something like this, otherwise you see that the front of this girl is getting green, but try to be just around the border between the hair and the background. When the image has got a nice contrast like this one, Photoshop can do a nice job. Here on the right, and here again, and so on. Just trying to finish this work as soon as I can, and I will fix some details like this one later on. Okay, just trying to fix everything. For the small part, it's better to have a smaller size of the brush, so just let it be smaller. Also to clean the small parts where still some white is around. Okay, I think it's pretty done. Probably I will need more time to work a little bit better on small details, but I think the general work is done. So I'm pressing Ctrl or Command if you're using Mac, minus to zoom out, and just to see generally speaking if my picture is looking fine. Okay, I think I'm a little bit like letting this part a little bit more light. Now, before getting out of select and mask, my suggestion is always to get into the black and white preview. Okay, with black and white you can have a really fast preview of how things are getting out. For example, you see here there is some problem. With black and white it will be really easy to see if there is something that is not in the right direction. So for example, here I don't like these small things around, so I can directly take, even if not the refine edge, I can directly take the brush tool, let it be small, and get into the minus and just clean some of these small problems here. Or I can get back into the overlay and I can take again my refine edge brush tool and try to clean better, because it's too much clear there is some problem here. I cannot have this kind of strange blurry white halos around. I need to fix this. Definitely they're not part of my work. Here again, I would like the border of my contour to be as clean as I can. Here again. I would like to fix also this top part because there is some gray here, so I will get into minus as I show you before, but I have to stay inside the contour, so not here but just a little bit inside the silhouette. Okay, once I've done, overlay again. If I need, I can fix it better. If it's not good enough to work with a refine edge, I can directly take the brush tool to make this part not transparent but opaque. So I will need to add this part. In this case I'm working by hand because I'm just seeing that the refine edge is not giving me the satisfaction I was expecting to have. Okay, here we are. I think I've done it. Okay, in output 2 you have different kind of output. If you get into output selection, there will be just a selection, but I can also choose to have a layer mask. I do prefer to use layer mask and press OK, because this way my image will be contoured with a mask. So just in case I need to change my mind, I need to make some refinement, I can just get here into the mask, or I can change it, I can remove some details, or I can improve it. This lesson is finished. In the next one we are going to figure out how to fix an image where the contrast is not as good as in this sample.